let's continue and get another perspective on this BEE question during COVID-19 in particular, as well as beyond. I'm now joined via Zoom by Black Management Forum's Deputy President, Tasneem Fredericks. Tasneem, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Peter. Good evening, and good evening to your audience.
All right. I wonder if you caught some of what Mr. Mbeki had to say and what your thoughts are listening to some of his reasoning.
Yes, Peter, thank you. It's a very tough act to follow. You know, Tati Mbeki is very accomplished and you know, he speaks from a point of authority, but as the BMF, I mean, this is not my personal view per se. It's a BMF view that I obviously share as the Deputy President. And I think just for starters, just putting the whole Black economic empowerment or economic empowerment into context globally, you know, South Africa is a unique situation because we've had apartheid confirmed by the UN. And so in America, where you have minorities being protected by affirmative action laws, where they are given opportunities like in South Africa, and you have places like United Arab Emirates, Dubai, that has Arab economic empowerment. So if you want to do business in Dubai, you have to give ownership in your business to an Emirati. This is the law in United Arab Emirates. So I think what we need to understand then is that we are dealing with economic minorities versus economic majority. And even though South Africa has a demographic majority of Black people, we are and will remain an economic minority. And this is why we have this absurd situation where we have legislation that promotes and advances the rights and protects the rights of the majority in a country. So it's actually absurd if you look at it globally. And then just the second point I want to make is that when we talk about elimination or eradication of poverty, people who criticize BEE say that it's failed because it hasn't reached enough people. It's failed because it's only enriched a few Black people. Now, I don't know why the enrichment of a few Black people, they must be guilted into feeling bad for legitimately having made money. I think, you know, we don't accuse white people who make money you know, with the same thing. There's no burden on them to prove why they've benefited. And then just in terms of, you know, the fact that people say it's failed because it hasn't reached the, you know, the majority of people, poor people in South Africa, we need to then look at what is the primary purpose of the Broad-Based Black Economic Act that was enacted in 2003, but of course we've seen many iterations throughout the years. So we have an act that's 17 years old. We have people saying, well, it hasn't eradicated poverty. Now, if you want to eradicate poverty, you look at things like creating jobs. You look at things like raising minimum wage, increasing the amount of social security, supporting equal gender pay, and then obviously also, and most importantly, especially from a BMF point, is growing a strong Black middle class. And then you look at what is the primary purpose of the BBBE Act, and that is to address the legacy of apartheid and to also promote economic participation of Black people.
Okay.
So people who are saying, sorry, okay.
All right, so look, bottom line, it was a great idea. I think nobody doubts that. And perhaps what the challenge has been its execution. And so I think one of the things that Mr. Mbeki says is that BE companies have grown over time. A number of them have grown, we've seen them. But the manufacturing sector generally has shrunk, unemployment has grown, and so he argues that BEE actually has an added value to generally to South Africa.
Yeah, I think when one makes broad statements, with all due respect to him, you know, it's got to be underpinned by some kind of empirical evidence. If we did not have, you know, affirmative action, there would be many people today, myself included, who would not have had the opportunities of getting a job in corporate because we were Black. I think when you address issues of equality, it must embrace issues of equity and justice. And I think you made the point earlier when you said, you know, you've got two companies. We aren't all starting at the same place. And we also want to start scrapping this BE idea because we want to get to a point of equality where we are actually all, equal. And then we can say, well, if there's two people, doesn't matter what color they are, let the best person win. Unfortunately, when you look at the Commission of Employment Equity, that is an independent report, we are actually, instead of stagnating, staying in the same place, we're actually regressing in terms of even government, how their employment patterns. And we always see that it's Black people that are left behind, both in terms of level of income and level of education.
All right, Ms. Fredericks, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We're going to have to leave it there, but hopefully we can have this conversation again, because it is an important one to continue having. But thanks so much indeed for your insights this evening.
Thank you so much.
All right,
good evening.
Thanks, Sue. All right, that was Tasneem Fredericks, who's the Deputy President of the Black Management Forum, giving her views on this question that continues to be asked, and that's triple BEE.